Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us. We're guesting with St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith this morning. Mr. Mayor, good to see you.
Hello, Richard.
I should know we're taping the show on Tuesday, October 4, and kind of feels like October out there these mornings anyway, huh?
Warming up tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like we got a few warm days coming in, but yeah, fall's checking in. Foliage, I was up in the Northeast Kingdom a few days ago, pretty much going past Jay Peak and into the Kingdom. A lot of pretty peak color out there. We got a ways to go in the Champlain Valley, obviously.
I think the weekend will be, we'll start seeing some changes for sure.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I think we're getting there. So how are things in the city, Mr. Mayor? Any huge news out there as we head into October?
No, things have been pretty quiet. Doing, once again, we don't depend on the tourist season by any means, but it has been growing over the years. And we would expect that to be, downtown would be a busy weekend. Once again, with the farmers market continuing on for a couple more weeks, I think. And
of course, holiday weekend coming up with Columbus Day, or I guess Indigenous Peoples Day, whatever, Canadian Thanksgiving. So, holiday weekend coming up.
I think downtown, it looks like the weather was going to be halfway decent, I think.
Sounded colder by the weekend, but hopefully not too bad.
And that's sort of been the MO of late, that farmers market's been busy, downtown's been busy, so I would expect the same for this weekend, being that I think most people consider this the peak weekend. Usually the Columbus Day weekend, it seems to be that, it seems to be the peak for our region anyway. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what downtown looks like.
I went by yesterday, again, we're taping the show Tuesday, October 4, went by Off the Rails. I saw the new name of the restaurant. So are they getting close sometime this month for an opening? Or?
Yeah, I think it's any day now.
Any day.
I heard mid-October, so they had some supply chain issues with their oven hood and that type of stuff. So I think that's all in place and everything's wired up. So I think I understand he's hired staff. So yeah, I think you'll probably be seeing something about that within once again next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and speaking of restaurants, flipping over to Enosburg Falls, Kathy's Tavern, I guess, is the name of the Hotel Quincy with innkeeper Jennifer Bright. That's Betsy Dormany, her first cousin. But Betsy's been looking to get a restaurant going at the hotel, so she's real excited. So
yeah,
Enosburg could use a restaurant, I think.
For sure. Since Halby's went out, which I found Halby's was a favorite of mine.
Yeah, good place.
It was, and so I'm hoping they're successful. We're through my day job. We're trying to help them out. We've applied for some equipment dollars potentially to help them out. So
right, and you've got a big downtown initiative with your Franklin County Industrial Development Corp job, so that's moving. Right. That's moving ahead.
Yeah, when the expectation is we'll have the supervisory union in by November 1, and another retail interest by November 1 as well. So we think we'll be next month. We'll be very busy.
I bet. Speaking of your day job, Beta Technologies, I guess now nailed down. I think it was very close to being nailed down when we last spoke, but again, they'll have a considerable presence at the old Energizer plant in the town.
They've signed their lease and moving forward. They have some renovations and some equipment install that has to happen. I'm not sure what the timing is on that, but
it sounded like a pretty good fit for what they wanted.
For sure. I mean, Energizer, the space that Beta will be taking was for lithium batteries, and so it's a good fit for the building that's there, and then the improvements that they'll do it'll work out well for them.
And we're talking a significant number of jobs down the road. Is that
down the road? Yeah, I think initially 10, 15, 10 or 12, but down the road, the first number I heard was 60 to 100. I think potential for growth, but time will tell for sure.
And we're talking some pretty decent jobs here. I mean, some.
Yeah, no, it's that innovation and technology division, sector, if you will, that we're not necessarily. We don't have a number of businesses in that sector. So for our region, our number one manufacturing sector is value-added food industry.
Yeah.
So it's a co-op, Barry Callebaut, Ben & Jerry's, Franklin Foods, all those.
Yeah.
So the technology piece, we don't have much happening there, but so this will be a nice addition to the lay of the land, if you will, in terms of employers. So
Sounds like it. How's Perigo faring these days? It seems like everybody else, it seems like all these folks are looking for more help. Are they faring okay?
yeah, everyone's looking for help, no doubt about it. They did have a very large expansion planned pre-COVID, and that's been put on hold. I'm not sure what the future holds for that. It doesn't appear that anything will happen there anytime soon. So they're continuing to make. I guess they're one of 6 manufacturers of baby formula.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Or just 6?
And I think that when we had the sort of crisis, when there was a shortage, one of them had been shut down, one of the 6, so it left 5.
Yeah.
So they continue to, they have needs just like everyone else, and trying to fill those is not always easy.
So that situation, and I know you've spoken on the show a number of times about maybe the key up here getting more employees is just convincing folks not to head to jobs in the Burlington area and stay closer to home. How do you go? Have you got a particular strategy to on that?
No, we're actually we're trying to pull together a meeting for the next couple of weeks to bring some people to the table. We have we being Franklin County Industrial Development has. We just did a strategic plan, so part of that is marketing the area. We've had some discussions with the Chamber of Commerce about collaborating to pull something together and get the word out. So we're in its infancy now, but that will definitely be a discussion here in the coming months.
Right. How are things going with the Railroad Dispatch Center, the new site off Lower Newton?
Yeah, I knew they had some supply chain issues too.
Like everybody else.
I think I think they got what they needed. They were looking for early 2023 to open. So I think they're progressing.
Yeah.
It's great to have the Fonda site cleaned up and being utilized.
Yeah.
So so it seems to be progressing well.
Yeah, as we talked about last show, unfortunately, that was one of the sites that you folks had put out for a possible new facility for USCIS. The Messenger got around to having a story on that today. I know you mentioned it a couple weeks ago.
I didn't see that, yeah.
I think they had it as a U.S. citizenship and immigration services, U.S. Customs and Immigration Services is the name, but again, mentioned before that no new facility in Franklin County.
Yeah, it was disappointing to say the least. A lot of people put a lot of time into putting together their proposals, both public and private. The city was active in that conversation. They were partnering with REARC to construct a facility in the Fonda site.
Yeah.
We through Franklin County Industrial Development had a developer take a purchase and sale agreement with us. He was interested in constructing a facility within the industrial park in the town.
Yeah.
And they came and they visited all the sites. I think there was 3 or 4. So we were optimistic, and then it was always a hurry up and wait scenario.
Yeah.
You needed to get your proposal in 2 weeks. You needed to get follow-up. So, and then you sit, you hurry up and get your information in, then you sit for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And then they want to come do a visit, so you pull that together, and then you sit for another 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And they finally pulled the plug on it. My personal feeling is I think with Senator Leahy retiring,
I was about to mention that.
I think-
Had he been running for another term, you think this might have gone the other way?
I think so. I think
Interesting.
he assisted St. Albans for decades.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, INS had started out with 65 employees.
It's all right.
And got up to 700 or 800, whatever it was.
Wow.
And all of that, the new Sid Tabor building, I think it was, or not, no.
The Gil Tabor
Gil
complex.
Tabor, thank you.
Yeah.
Sid was someone else.
I knew Gil a little bit. Great guy.
So I think Leahy was instrumental in getting that here, and I think if he had not been retiring, I don't think INS would have gone against his wishes, which was to keep a facility in St. Albans.
Yeah, of course, one of 5 service centers in the
Right.
country.
Yep. So it was disappointing that came to that. I think a number of people still have to go into the building in Essex, and most of them are contract employees.
Yeah,
I think if you're a government employee, you can still work from home with a periodically visit the center. If you're a contract employee, from what I understand, they have to go in every day.
oh, really?
And most of those get paid less.
Yeah,
Many of them were county residents.
yeah,
So now they're forcing them to make the drive. And no, I say force, they've been doing it.
yeah,
But I think they were doing it with the expectation that there would be a new building in St. Albans.
yeah,
Now they're making that commute
yeah.
every day to Essex. So
Well, you got to think they'll probably keep doing that. I would guess a lot of these folks aren't going to be looking to buy a new house in the Essex
No,
area and
no.
stuff, given prices,
But-
but that's tough.
to our point, I mean, there's a
There you go.
population base that
Yeah,
could look to work within the county and save that travel time and the wear and tear on the car and the expense of gas.
yeah,
What we need to do is do a better job of educating folks about what is actually available within the region.
yeah.
And, we hope to do that soon.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back. I've been around here a long time, reporting in one fashion or another for a long time, and just so many comments about, gee, it'd be nice to get some jobs up here that you don't have to go to Burlington and nothing have to tell you. There are a bunch of jobs up
With
here.
a bunch of jobs.
Anyway, well, good luck on that.
I think, just to
Yeah.
touch on that a little bit, I
Yeah.
was up in, I don't know if it was, I guess it was a Sunday before this past one, so 2 Sundays ago. I was up at Feldman's Bakery, where they have the bagel shop,
Yeah,
and I ran into some folks I know from Enosburg who usually do their sort of coffee clutch, if you will, up at McDonald's.
yeah,
And McDonald's was closed on
Really?
Sunday because
really.
they
Just let me guess, no staff.
no staff.
Is that
And
right? They
part
were
of it was the
closed?
people calling in sick,
Wow.
but they closed. I think they only did drive up on that morning, that
Wow.
Sunday morning. So they just closed the doors, and
Wow.
we've seen that, other places are cutting back hours and
Yeah.
number of days that are being worked, and
Yeah, it seems like watching TV news last night, I was probably half asleep, and I forget what high school. It wasn't in Franklin County, but
Oh,
I think that some high school in Vermont shut down, or some schools shut down yesterday just because it didn't have
there's
enough
2.
staff.
I
There were
saw,
a couple.
an article on that, and there was
Wow.
2 schools, and I didn't get a chance to read it, but said they shut
Yeah.
down due to lack of staffing.
Interesting.
In speaking with the supervisor or the superintendent here in St. Albans,
Yeah,
I think he said they were down about 20 employees across the
Wow.
4 schools,
Yeah.
Fairfield Town, City,
yeah.
and BFA, which I thought was pretty good.
That doesn't sound too bad, I
No,
guess, relatively
so
speaking.
I think they were happy with
Wow.
that. So
Pandemic issues, is that pretty much gone? Do you hear, I probably
it's
hate
gone
to
for
even
me,
talk
Richard.
about it.
Yeah, it's gone for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I sort of I get a little irritated when you go places and then you have to, you can't get through the door without a mask.
So you
and,
still run into that
yeah,
in places?
mostly medical facilities, which I get, but
Yeah.
it's just tough to sort of go backwards and get into that mindset, for me
Yeah.
anyway. I don't know
Yeah.
about others, but I don't even, on a daily basis, I don't even think twice about it. I think it's,
Yeah, no, it pretty much the same with me. And speaking of that, it's funny, I talked to, that's what I get for getting so old, I guess. Lost one of my fine doctors. Boy, all my doctors are, Dr. Tom Dowen, right below Dr. J, is retiring. I had
think
an
I'm-
appointment yesterday and got that word just yesterday.
I think I'm one of his last surgeries cases.
Oh, is that right?
I'm going for
Boy,
cataract surgery. I had one eye done last week, and I know I'm revealing a lot of HIPAA information here, but I'm going in Thursday for the other eye to be done. So I'm one of his last patients,
well,
I
that's
guess.
interesting. I talked to my great car guy in Highgate, Ray LaRush, Ray and Suzette, and Raymond's also on that list too. I think
Oh, is that right?
getting some cataracts. So yeah, you're right at the end of the
Yeah.
line there. Anyway, but came up with some new folks in South Burlington, but they were quick to say, when you come down, make sure you're wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So I guess that's still there. But boy, that's a real loss. Dr. Dowen's been great for me. I got a lot of good docs. Max Bayard hit the road for Tennessee a few years ago, but
Yeah.
tough. But I'm sure plenty of people are in the same position.
Yeah, you got me thinking about something, and that escaped. But yeah, no, I think it's the hospital continues to try to recruit doctors and
Yeah.
nurses, and I think there's still a number of traveling nurses that we're paying for sure.
Well, it sounds like UVM Medical Center in Burlington. I think I saw figures at one point. It's just unbelievable the money they're paying for travel nurses or whatever. Which sounds like kind of a cool job, cool thing to do.
Well, we met a family who they actually were from Arizona, and the whole family came because the mother was a traveling nurse, so they came
Wow.
and lived in St. Albans for the summer,
Yeah.
and got to know them because they brought their son and daughter, who were about 13 and 15, and the son played baseball with my son over the summer, and got to know him. But that's what they came to Vermont for the summer, got out of the Arizona heat.
Huh.
Worked out well for him. The husband took off, took a leave of absence to do it from his job,
Yeah.
so worked out great for them. Yeah, I
Interesting.
agree with you. It'd be a you pretty much pick and choose where you go.
Well, yeah, talk about a demand for that. Yeah, my heating guy, great guy who saved my house about 10 years ago. I was on the brink of my furnace went down. This was midwinter. Wasn't too bad a winter, but a wicked strong cold front was coming in, and he had just hours. My man Mike Montgomery,
Oh, yeah,
Lakeview. But Mike mentioned, just talking about his kids when I saw him yesterday. He's got 3 kids, one daughter at BFA who
Yeah.
wants to be a nurse. I said, boy, that sounds like a great occupation to be going for.
And
So-
just
yeah.
with the aging of society, with all the baby boomers.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So
So we have, you know who I met? I met Nicole Robtoy, your new city
yeah.
clerk treasurer. Good boy. I'm impressed. She's been working solo. Is she, I guess, getting close to hiring an
yeah, I think we're getting
assistant?
close. I know they've had a number of interviews
Yeah.
for that assistant position, and they've had some
Yeah.
great candidates.
Yeah,
We talk about shortage of employees, but we've
yeah. You got some
the-
good candidates.
good candidates that there's a couple individuals at City Hall who made that transition back from
Huh.
Burlington,
Yeah,
live in the region, and left their job to take a job at City Hall.
yeah.
And that was over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so Nicole seems to be off to a good start, and I'm
I
sure
think
we'll be
so.
very happy to have an assistant.
Yeah,
And one
for sure.
person, that sounds like pretty crazy job in that office.
Yeah, I think they want to get settled in before the election. Obviously, you got the big election coming up in November.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, ballots are out. Got my ballot in the mail.
I haven't opened it
You
yet,
can,
but-
you can be sure I'll be voting at City Hall on November 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I've been busy starting to interview candidates, but I think we talked about before, boy, on the statewide level, just seems like on statewide races, just seems like zero suspense. I think the one race we thought the Lieutenant Governor, Joe Benning, David Zuckerman, might have some suspense, but I'm not even
I
confident
was going
that's
to say
going to.
I think we're being optimistic there.
Yeah, but locally, there's there's plenty going on locally. Of course, one of your city councilors, Mike McCarthy, running for re-election against Joe Luno,
Right.
and I suspect that's a competitive race right
Yeah,
there.
I think it will be. And,
Yeah.
Joe's working hard. Mike's got the name recognition, I think. Well,
Yeah.
Joe does too, for that matter.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the whole thing sugars off. Yeah, I don't have any. I think you and I talked about it too. The sheriff's race is going to be interesting.
getting some attention. Yeah,
So, I'll be curious to see. It's always interesting the night of, and even with national results, right?
boy, it's a huge election for national.
It's a fun night
results.
to sit in front of the TV and watch the results come in, for
Yeah.
sure. I know I enjoy doing that.
Yeah, we'll be doing
seeing
some
what the
coverage
impacts
here
are.
as per usual. I'm sure we'll have some good company, but we'll do some coverage of obviously local stuff right here on
Yeah.
the night of November 8th. Yeah, when I get old enough, maybe one of these elections down the road, I can be home and just
There
watch
you
this.
go.
But yeah, it's a huge election nationally, obviously, with the Senate 50-50 now, and the House boy, I mean, a couple months ago, it just looked like Republicans were going to be in very good shape. And we'll see, but it sounds like it's tightened up, but who knows? It'll be interesting. Boy, I guess the big national story. What about, of course, my son's name is Ian, who's going to school in Italy now. I said, Ian, your name will sure be living in infamy in Florida, but boy, what a hurricane. Had been a pretty quiet season until Fiona for Puerto Rico and Canadian Maritimes, and Ian showed up. But just devastation. Talk about
a number of my friends have places in Florida.
Yeah. Any friends around Fort Myers?
I don't know the area that well.
Yeah.
I know that they were all somehow were in the target zone, I guess.
Yeah.
One missing boat, trying to find a boat that they owned that was up off the water.
Wow.
Some minor damages, shingles and siding and that type of stuff,
Yeah.
and landscaping got damaged significantly. I
Yeah.
think we had that conversation actually. I ran into someone at the eye surgery center when I was getting prepared last week, and they
Yeah.
were watching the news there. But they just lost some landscaping. So I think most everyone. In consideration of everything that has happened down there,
Yeah.
everything that locals have experienced that I know of is all minor, damage. It's nothing, maybe some water damage, maybe, as I said, shingles, but nothing
Yeah.
significant by any means.
Yeah, hey, one of my tennis guys, Greg Costas, Greg's got a place down there, and I think he did have at least some roof damage,
Yeah.
but hopefully nothing too serious. But, well, what a devastating
It was
storm.
unbelievable, the damage of that. So
Yeah, as tough as the weather can be up here, maybe especially in midwinter, Vermont sounds like not the worst place to be around here. Don't seem to have to worry about like wildfires and I was going to say flooding, but of course Irene comes to mind when Vermont did take, especially to our south, a big hit. But in general, sounds like not too bad a place to be. Budget work, Tim, is that underway or is it still a little early?
For some, I think it's underway. We got through Franklin County Industrial Development. We received a letter asking us for our solicitation letter. So we do get funding from all communities in the county,
Yeah.
and they were asking for that because they were preparing to put their budget together. So it's coming up. I think the city usually looks at that mid-November, early December timeframe,
Yeah.
and then it goes to the council in January and February for corrections, and so it's ready to go in March.
Any noteworthy issues, anything out of the, ordinary for town meeting day, annual city meeting? And have we got another TIF anymore?
Yeah, that's the part of the discussion is how do we want to utilize our last year or 18 months of the TIF.
Is that right, down to 18 months?
Yeah, we're down 18, so it expires, I guess, in March of 2024.
2024?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the date. So we only have a limited amount of time and to be able to pull together some projects. There's some that we're talking about, but whether we go the TIF route or not, that's still under discussion.
Interesting.
But that would be the big. But in terms of the budget, for us, the concern is that we have a hole to fill, and that hole is the INS building.
Right.
That. They had appealed their
Right.
property appraisal, and it was cut in half. So
Right.
the impact to the actual income portion of the budget
Almost,
is,
what, 200,000?
yeah, just under, it was 183,000, I think it was. So
Yeah,
that's a concern that we have moving forward for
Yeah.
sure.
And no sign of any future life to the old Giltabor complex at this point?
No, we don't. We haven't heard anything from the developer. I've had conversations with the city manager about what some possibilities might be, and obviously housing always comes to the forefront.
Yeah.
But that's just some very preliminary. I think it's been more brainstorming than anything about how the building might get utilized.
Yeah.
So.
Downtown showing again a pretty good summer for a pretty busy summer. It seemed like.
I've said this every time I come on the show, Richard.
Yeah,
if you're
it's
looking
okay.
if you're looking for new info, I probably don't have it. But
Or heavy pessimism about the future of St. Albans. I don't think I'll hear that too
yeah,
much.
no. But we hardly a day goes by when I don't get a compliment about.
Yeah.
I have a friend who I actually called. He lives in Summers up at Derby Line or Derby, and they have a place outside of Tampa. And called him, checked in with him, and he was in St. Albans last week, and he said he was amazed at how great the downtown looked,
Yeah.
The storefronts, all that.
Yeah.
So he made a point of sharing that with me, and people do all the time. I get compliments almost every day about how great the downtown looks, which that gives me pride in the community. I think it gives all the employees at the city, Public Works, Fire Department, all that. So, and you just look around at some of the things that have happened. How much time we got? So,
Down to about 4 minutes.
you look at homecoming was this past weekend.
Oh, yeah.
The high school kids did their parade and went down Main Street, and that was a great event. And then they had the fireworks up at the complex. And then you had, the governor was up for the announcement with the courthouse and the renovation that Jim Cameron's doing there.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I think it was the next day or 2 days later, we had the send-off for Frank Spenley, who will be turning,
right.
He's our neighbor up
In
in
fact,
our
Messenger
neighborhood.
has a story on Frank today. I
Oh, they
think.
did do that. So,
But I remember Frank. I dealt with Frank in years past.
yeah, so Frank turns
Didn't he work on the Civilian Conservation Corps, the bathhouse at St. Albans Bay? Seems
Oh,
like I
I-
remem's him mentioning that to
I
me.
didn't know that.
I'm going
He was
back
very
a few
active in
years.
customs, and
Yeah.
but he so for people who don't know, he did the World War II trip down to see the monument,
Wow.
and we had a send off on Messenger Street with fire trucks and police, and Frank's turning 100 years old on
Wow.
October 22nd.
Wow.
So and we had a great conversation. The governor had a great conversation with him.
Really?
I
That's
commend
great.
the governor for what he has going on. He made the effort
Yeah.
to come up from Montpelier,
Yeah.
and he didn't just come in for 2 minutes and
Oh,
leave.
right.
He was there for an hour,
Really.
interacting with folks, and mainly Mr. Spenley, and it was just a great event to see that. And Mr. Spenley still remembers his days in World War II,
Really?
and touched on those a little bit.
Wow.
So there's always great stuff going on in the community,
Yeah.
and I think we're very fortunate for sure.
Any cannabis? I guess October 1st was the date that cannabis, retail shops could open, and I'm sure a few did. Anything of note going on in around here?
So the city has not taken it up for a vote. The
Yeah.
town did.
So
Town
the
approved it.
city never hasn't voted on it either.
No,
Okay. The town didn't. I believe the
town passed.
passed it.
So I've heard
Yeah.
rumblings that there may be something out at and once again, I'm not totally in tune with what the
Yeah.
approval process is, but
Yeah.
I heard that there was an operation looking in the town to open up.
Yeah.
So they'd have to get their certificate.
For the
to
record,
do
I've
that.
complained on this show with Tim, who gives us his regular presence, that the town had been tough to grab for this show, but I did interview Jonathan Giroux and Kerry Johnson yesterday for an hour,
did.
so covered a lot of ground, but I don't think I covered cannabis ground, but it was good to get the town back.
Yeah.
City PD, staffing-wise, hanging in okay?
Yeah, I talked to Jason Weatherby, and he was saying that they had a few candidates that I think 2 of them actually came through their, I'm going to call it a junior ranger program,
Oh, yeah.
where I think they were park monitors and that type of stuff, riding around on bikes a few years back, and
Huh.
came back through the system, and I think are going down to the police academy. So I think we've, those efforts paid dividends, and so I think we're getting close. Someone else is moving back to the area, so I think we're getting close to
Well, it's
full enrollment.
probably good to have St. Albans not in crime news too often, as opposed to Burlington having all kinds of problems. But On that note, and just in a couple sec community swimming pool, the bubble's on,
Yeah,
and
Bubbles
come
on looks
down.
great. I encourage people, if you're not, even if you're not gonna swim, just pop in and look at it.
Yeah.
It's bright, it's airy, supposedly the senior, population, which you and I are a member of, Richard.
Nice of you to throw you in with me.
Yeah, but they're in there swimming, a lot of seniors doing lap swim, and, so it's great to see that.
Excellent. Thanks to St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith, producer Alan Cunningham for doing all the hard work around here. I'm Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. See you next time.